Hey everyone, and welcome. So today we're jumping into something that's a huge deal for pretty much any student, parent, or teacher in India. I'm talking about the NIRF rankings. It's basically the big annual report card for all our colleges and universities. But have you ever wondered how it all started? Or how it really works? And maybe, just maybe, is it giving us the complete picture? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today.
Okay, I want to start with a number, and that number is 0. Yep, 0. That's how many Indian institutions you'll find in the top 100 of those big global rankings, like the QS World Ranking. Not a single one. Now that's a pretty shocking statistic, right? And it really makes you stop and ask a pretty important question. So, if the so-called global gold standards aren't featuring our top universities, how are we supposed to figure out who's doing a great job? How do we actually measure the quality of our own education system right here in India?
Well, that's the thing. This huge gap, this global ranking problem, it really pushed India to say, okay, we need our own system, a framework that's built for us, by us, something that actually understands our unique situation.
See, the big complaint against these international rankings is that they're just not made for India. They don't really get our diverse society, our unique challenges, or even our strengths. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. So it became clear that we absolutely needed a homegrown solution.
And that solution, well, it has a name you've probably heard a lot, the National Institutional Ranking Framework, or NIRF. This was basically India's official answer to that big challenge, our very own standard for our universities.
So back in 2016, the government of India officially launched NIRF. The main goal? To create one single, transparent system to rank pretty much every higher education institution you can think of, from engineering colleges to medical schools and universities.
And boy, has it grown. When it first kicked off, about 3,500 institutions were part of it. But today, that number has just exploded to over 15,000. That just goes to show you how important and central NIRF has become in our education world.
Okay, so this is the big question, right? How do they actually calculate these all-important rankings? It's not just pulling numbers out of a hat. There's a whole methodology behind it, and it's all built on 5 key pillars, or what they call parameters.
So here's the breakdown. It's all about how much weight, or importance, is given to each parameter. And as you can see, 2 things really dominate: teaching and learning, and research. Just those 2 together make up a whopping 60% of the entire score. The other 3, graduation outcomes, outreach and inclusivity, and peer perception, make up the rest. Let's quickly go through what each of these really means.
All right, first up, with a huge 30% weightage, is teaching, learning, and resources. This is the absolute foundation of any good college, right? It looks at things like how many teachers are there per student? What's the campus infrastructure like? Is it a good place to actually learn?
Right alongside it, also at 30%, is research and professional practices. This one's all about innovation and adding to our collective knowledge. Our professors publishing important research papers. Is the university creating patents? It's really a measure of their intellectual output. Okay, but what happens after you graduate? That's a huge question for students and parents. And that's where this next parameter, graduation outcomes, comes in. It's worth 20%, and it's all about real-world success. We're talking hard numbers here. What are the placement rates? What's the average salary of a graduate? Super important stuff.
Next, we have outreach and inclusivity, which gets 10%. Now, this is about the social conscience of the institution. It measures how committed they are to being fair and equitable. So it looks at the diversity on campus, students and faculty from different genders, social backgrounds, and parts of the country. And finally, the last 10% comes from something a little different. It's called peer perception, and honestly, it's all about reputation. It's based on what other academics and industry experts think about the institution. It's purely subjective. Now, make a mental note of this one, because this idea of perception is going to come up again later, and it's a pretty big deal.
So, we've seen how the sausage is made. But why do these rankings matter so much? I mean, why does this one single number have so much power? Well, the truth is, it affects literally everyone involved in education. A student picking a college, a professor looking for a new job, even the university's ability to get funding.
It's like this powerful feedback loop. You get a good rank, right? That acts like a seal of approval, which builds up your reputation. A great reputation then attracts the best students and the best teachers.
and that makes it easier to get funding for new projects and better facilities. All of that investment helps the university get even better, which, you guessed it, helps them get an even better rank next year. It just keeps going.
But, and this is a big but, as good as NIRF has been for our system, it's not perfect. No system is. So to really understand it, we've got to be honest and look at some of the cracks in the framework.
Okay, remember that one parameter I told you to keep in mind, peer perception? Well, here's where it becomes a problem. See, most of the NIRF score is based on hard, objective data, stuff you can check, like placement numbers or research papers. But this one part, it's just based on opinion. It's subjective.
And that's where the risk comes in. This quote really nails it. Because it's based on what people think, there's a real danger that an institution could try to, well, influence those opinions to get a better score. And if that happens, it can unfairly inflate their ranking and damage the trust people have in the whole system. This isn't just a random concern. It's a flaw that has been pointed out by many experts.
The other big area of concern is inclusivity. Now, you might be thinking, wait, didn't you say there's a parameter for that? And you're right, there is. But despite that, reports and studies show there are still major gaps. We see underrepresentation of students from scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other backward communities, especially when you look at faculty positions. And there are ongoing issues of discrimination and social isolation that affect students from various backgrounds.
So, okay, we've identified the problems. The big question now is, what do we do about it? How can we make this system even better? What's the way forward?
Well, experts basically point to two main solutions. First, they say, let's fix the formula. We need to reduce the influence of that subjective, pure perception score and lean more heavily on hard, verifiable data. And second, we need to get serious about inclusivity. It can't just be about ticking a box. It has to be about making sure equity and fairness are a real, lived experience on campus for everyone.